Parak HaMekabel Sodom מחבירו, Daf Kuf Tezvav, sponsored the Refuah Shalema for Dvora Bas Chaya Rivka. Rabbi Yochanan holds that if the lender exacted a security from the borrower, after he dies, the lender can take it from his heirs. A Bryce explains this as the reason a lender takes a security even though he returns it to the borrower. It prevents it from becoming ordinary movable property that cannot be collected as payment for a debt. He has the right to collect the security even if it was in the possession of the heirs when their father died, because he already acquired rights to it. Returning is merely depositing it with the borrower for safekeeping. The Gemara now distinguishes between the rights of a lender to a borrower and his guarantor. The Gemara brings a brisa that explains, number one, the verse, Lo savo el beiso la avoit avoitoi. The possessive use of the word house indicates that the lender, or according to one opinion we learned earlier, even the court's agent, cannot enter the borrower's house, but they can enter the house of the guarantor. Number two, the verse prohibits entering the house of the borrower to take a security for a loan. But for an employee entering to secure wages his employer owes him is permitted. However, if the employer transforms this debt into a regular loan, he cannot enter the debtor's house. This is learned from the beginning of the verse, Ki sashev reacha mashas muma. The term muma means any debt, even wages, transformed into a loan. Now we move on to a new Mishnah. The Mishnah states one may not exact the security from a widow, whether rich or poor, based on the verse, Lo yisach bo begen almanah. The verse does not distinguish between rich or poor. The Gemara states the author of the Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda based on a brisa. According to Rabbi Shimon, who is Dorish Tamid Dikra, expounds the rationale for Torah laws, holds that a security can be exacted from a wealthy widow but not from one poor, because he must return it to her daily. This would arouse the suspicion of her neighbors. This does not apply to a wealthy widow. The Gemara distinguishes this from a seemingly contradictory law. Torah states concerning a Jewish king, Lo yarbelo nashim v'lo yasur levavo. A king should not marry many wives in order not to turn his heart away. Rabbi Yehuda expounds the rationale of this law because the Torah explains the second part of the verse as the reason for the first. The prohibition to marry many wives applies to those that will turn his heart, but there is no limit to worthy women. However, Rabbi Shimon understood this implicitly. The reason mentioned is to exclude even one unworthy wife. The prohibition of marrying many wives applies even to worthy women. We move on to a new Mishnah. The Mishnah teaches utensils used in the preparation of food may not be taken as a security based on the verse, Lo yachbo reichayim v'rochev ki nefeshu chovel. Although the verse mentions an upper and lower millstone, the words at the end of the verse, ki nefeshu chovel, he is taking a life as a security, includes any utensil used in preparing food. The Torah teaches the two parts of the millstone separately to impose two sets of lashes. The Gemara brings a machlokes concerning the imposition of a third set of lashes for taking the complete millstone. Rav Huna holds the general prohibition for taking utensils used for food preparation is ki nefeshu chovel. It applies even to millstones mentioned explicitly, adding one more set of lashes. Rabbi Yehuda holds it is taught specifically to include other utensils. Therefore, one taking a complete millstone as a security violates only two prohibitions. The Gemara distinguishes this machlokes from an apparently similar machlokes of Abai and Rava concerning the manner of eating the korban pesach. The verse states, Al tochlu mimenu na uvosher mevusho b'mayim ki im tzli yesh. One should not consume the korban pesach partially roasted or cooked, but fully roasted. Rava holds the words ki im tzli yesh adds an additional prohibition. If he eats some of the meat partially roasted and some cooked, he violates three prohibitions. However, it does not follow that he disagrees with Rabbi Yehuda's opinion that one would be liable for two prohibitions only by taking the two parts of a millstone. A general prohibition is needed to include other food preparation utensils. The addition of ki im tzli eish is not necessary to include a prohibition to eat the korban pesach prepared other ways, except to add an additional prohibition. By excluding eating the meat rare or cooked, the only other preparation is fully roasted. Abaya holds ki im tzli eish cannot add an additional set of lashes. It is a lav shebechlolos, a general prohibition. However, he holds, like Rav Huna, that ki nefeshu chovel adds an additional prohibition even when he takes a millstone as a security. These words can only teach the inclusion of all food preparation utensils. that teaching applies to a millstone as well, whereas the addition of Yim Tzli Eish teaches that the requirement to eat meat fully roasted applies only at night when there is a mitzvah to eat the Korban Pesach, but not Erev Pesach at the time of its slaughter. Therefore, it is not axiomatic that it comes to teach an additional prohibition. If you are enjoying Daf in 5,